I'm ready. What up? Let's get to it. So Lewis Cine, dog, Lewis Cine. Is it really over for Lewis Cine, huh? Is his career at the end before it even really got started, dog? Now we know all the hype, about Lewis Cine coming in, first round draft pick, et cetera, et cetera. Quasi's first draft, huh? You know, they traded back for him, dog. But at the end of the day, Lewis Cine has not played up to expectations. People expected more, a lot more. I'm sure the Vikings staff did, huh? So, us Vikings fans, I'm sure the media, people in the building, we're pretty much expecting Lewis Cine to be cut. You hear me? Expecting Lewis Cine to be cut out of there. Before training camp, maybe beginning of training camp. But long story short, we're not expecting him to make the roster. For good reason. For a good reason. Now you can talk about his injury he succumbed to, horrific injury. You can't forget that. But even before then, he wasn't on the field. He wasn't a starter. He wasn't even on a second string, homie. He was strictly a special teams player, right? Heavy. But one thing I will ask and I question about, to the Minnesota Vikings and Brian Flores especially, have they gotten everything out of Lewis Cine, dog? Do they know for sure that Lewis Cine is a bust, homie? Heavy, huh? Have they put all the work in with him as much as possible to try to get the best out of him, dog? Period, bottom line. Have they given it everything to develop him, mold him, work with him? You hear me? That they know for certain that they can be convicted and saying, hey, you out the building, bro. We got to cut you. We got to let you go. You hear me? Do they know that for sure? I think they need to make sure if they don't, homie. We know he has some talent. We know some skills are there. We saw that in the preseason, huh? Tackling ability, physicality, running around, flying around, speed. He has that, huh? He has that, huh? What he lacks is what? Coverage skills, technique, understanding his role on the field, just from the outside looking in. This is what I'm seeing, what I'm saying, baby, from the eye test, huh? Yeah. So probably lacks communication as well, just overall understanding what's going on the field, homie. That seems like that's what's holding him back. But physicality, bringing the pain, putting a hat on a hat, dog, helmet on a helmet, he does that. He does that, homie. So I got to ask Flores, especially Flores, does he feel that he has gotten everything, every ounce out of Lewis Cine, homie? Because if not, if he goes to another team, I'm going to get into that in a minute. But if he goes to another team, you hear me? Ooh, a team, so say the Ravens or the Saints, two teams that could be interested. Huh? Now, let's not act like if Lewis Cine gets cut, he won't get another opportunity with a new squad. Let's not act like that. He's a first-round pick. At the end of the day, you hear me? Somebody going to give him a chance. Somebody going to give him a chance. Heavy. Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of teams, numerous teams who need safeties, dog. Need safety depth. You hear me? Even if it's only for depth chart reasons, dog. But I'm sure some coaches, teams that look at Lewis Cine and say, hey, this dude might deserve another chance opportunity, dog. We haven't seen the best of Lewis Cine yet. You hear me? And like I always say, change of scenery, change of staff, environment can mean everything, dog. Now, I think Lewis Cine is who he is. I haven't seen enough from him. He showed me nothing besides he can tackle and be physical, but you need more. You need more. But all I'm saying is Lewis Cine could go to another team and produce. What if he does? What if it's a NFC team? What if he goes somewhere to a team, so to say, the Saints or the Ravens, two teams who could use him? I'm going to get into the article in a minute. What if he goes there and balls out, transforms? A D coordinator, coaching staff gets a hold to him, brings out a whole new game, a whole new element, dog. You hear me? Who would be to blame? Who would we blame if that was the case? Now, I'm not saying it will happen, but who would we blame? Huh? Can we say, oh, Lewis Cine just didn't put the work in. He didn't want to be here. He didn't really want to be a Viking, be in Minnesota. He wanted to relocate. You hear me? That would be the easy thing to say. Or could we blame the coaching staff? Oh, they didn't develop him right. You know, Brian Flores, Ed Donatel, and that weak shell ruined him from jump. Huh? They couldn't work with him. They didn't know what to do with a player like who has a skill set. Huh? They couldn't get the most out of him. Huh? You hear me? So it's a lot of things that will be speculated and debated, but at the end of the day, it could happen. We've seen it happen before, huh? Yeah. You know, NFL players goes to this team, you know, goes to that team and produces, plays well, balls out in some circumstances, dog. And like I say, I don't think Lewis Cine is that guy. Nothing he's done or hasn't done showed me he's that guy, dog. But one thing for certain, we know it's possible, homie. Yeah. And then say he goes to a team like the Ravens or the Saints with a solid defense already. You know, solid defense already won't be a lot of pressure. But some guys just change with environment, you know. Sometimes it's just a tricky situation. It just happens, dog. You know, sometimes there's no other reason than that's when the player's ready. It all clicks. At one moment, it clicks. It comes together, huh? Yeah, heavy. It all clicks. It comes together. He puts it all together. The game comes to him, dog. Some players develop faster than other players. You hear me? Yeah. Some players, it takes more time. So let's say the Vikings cut Lewis Cine, release Lewis Cine, huh? Team gets him, and he turns into a baller. He starts playing, looking like a real first-round pick. Becomes a starting safety. Man, wouldn't that be trippy? Wouldn't that be crazy? So all I'm saying to the Vikings and Flores and the defensive staff, huh? Make sure you get the most out of Lewis Cine. Make sure you know 100%. Nah, forget that 1,000%, dog. That Lewis Cine is a bust, a draft bust. He cannot play ball, etc., etc. Because if they don't, oh man, it could bite him in the ass. I'm just talking facts, homie. Yeah. So I hope they just make sure, you know, man. Oh man, you know, it's different levels. It's different levels, dog. Sometimes coaches miss. Sometimes coaches miss for whatever reason. But I hope they make sure, man, that Lewis Cine is not a real good player, dog. That he's not that guy, because if he is that guy and another team takes him away, man, it's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas, a lot of what happened, huh? Let's get into the article, man. It gets real. It gets real in the field in the NFL, homie. Heavier. Let's get it, man. Give me a second, man. Let's get it. Here we go. The Minnesota Vikings could cut Lewis Cine, and the Baltimore Ravens and New Orleans Saints could use his services, huh? After 2 underwhelming seasons, the Minnesota Vikings could cut safety and former first-round pick Lewis Cine, selected with the 32nd overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. The Georgia product was supposed to be the next great staple of Minnesota's secondary. Well, he hasn't been that. He was supposed to be, dog, but he hasn't been that. You hear me? It is what it is. Instead, Lewis Cine appeared in just 3 games as a rookie and struggled to see the field even before suffering a season-ending leg injury. His 2023 season was more of the same, as he only played 8 defensive snaps for the entire season. With no clear path to playing time, ESPN's Kevin Seifert believes that the former first-round pick could be on the roster bubble despite only having 2 seasons under his belt. It could be it. It could be it, homie. It's hard to know exactly how good Lewis Cine is with so little game film. If the Vikings don't have room for him on the roster, then perhaps the Baltimore Ravens or New Orleans Saints could take a flyer on the underutilized first-round pick. See, he go to the Ravens or the Saints. We're talking about already solidified defenses, dog. You know, top 10, top 15 defenses. And you talk about going to the Ravens, he's on a winning team. You know, you talk about potentially playing in a Super Bowl, winning a Super Bowl. You hear me? So we talk about Lewis Cine, where he go, where could he end up? You got to ask yourself, is he worried? Is he panicking? Or is he like, hey, they cut me, let them cut me. A team gonna pick me up. But if he goes to the Ravens or the Saints, I really wouldn't want to go to the Saints if I was a player, if I was him. But the Ravens, dog, the Ravens, that would be a dream come true probably for Lewis Cine. That's a win for Lewis Cine, huh? Heavy. You go to a great team, man, great quarterback, great momentum, Super Bowl caliber team, huh? Competing every year, you hear me? Yeah, man. You can't beat that if you Lewis Cine. Heavy, dog. The Baltimore Ravens have 2 above average safeties in Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams. Man, the Vikings could have had Kyle. Mistake by Quasi, but it's all good. He learned, huh? While these two form one of the better starting safety duos in the league, the Ravens could use a third option, strictly a blitzer. They could send him in on third down, strictly blitzing. Physicality, baby. Nobody runs more 3 safety looks than John Harbaugh's squad. There you go. And the team has yet to find an adequate replacement for the departed Geno Stone. The team brought in Jamal Adams for a visit. He's not the guy. Might be damn near trash, dog. Which suggests they're in the market for a backup safety. If cut, Lewis Cine could be the perfect low risk, medium reward for this club. Oh, yeah. I mean, it might sound crazy, but if I had to choose between Jamal Adams or Lewis Cine, I'm going with Lewis Cine. Younger, I'm sure faster, can be developed more. You can question, has he reached his ceiling? And you pay less. You pay way less, homie. Period. While Adams used to be one of the best safeties in the league, age has done a number to the veteran. At this point in his career, the former All-Pro is nothing more than a glorified linebacker who is a liability anytime he's not in the box. Facts, homie. Facts. We're just talking facts. Same thing I said. That's why the Vikings don't need to touch him. That's why the Vikings don't need to touch Jamal Adams. You hear me? Lewis Cine, meanwhile, has a much wider range of outcomes. Facts. Perhaps the cut candidate simply doesn't belong in the NFL, or perhaps the Ravens can find a way to bring out the talent that made him a first-round pick all those years ago. Like I said, you never know, dog. What if the Ravens can develop him more? What if Harbaugh can get to him? I'm telling you now. We've seen crazier things. Either way, he shouldn't cost too much. Facts. And his upside easily justifies a spot on the practice squad or the back of the roster. Facts, dog. Saints add more insurance. The Saints have a strong secondary, but have a glaring weakness at the second safety position. While Tyrann Mathieu remains a starting caliber player, this team is still looking for a proper Marcus May replacement. New Orleans recently signed Roderick Teamer to a new deal, but the former Raider is nothing more than a backup caliber player. It's about depth. It's about depth, dog. At this point, might just be about bodies for the Saints, huh? Might just be about bodies for the Saints, dog. You hear me? Perhaps Lewis Cine is also destined for backup work. Probably what he is, if that. But New Orleans should roll the dice on high-level talent if the Vikings cut him. Check your grammar, homie. If the Vikings cut him, not in, dog. Heavy. New Orleans currently has just over $12 million in cap space, but that comes in asterisk. Thanks to years upon years of restructures, the Saints are well over the projected 2025 salary cap and shouldn't give out top money to a free agent like Justin Simmons. Hey, man, that salary cap is a mother effer. that salary cap, hey, can hurt you or help you. Hurt you or help you, dog. It can hold you back. We've seen it for the Vikings for years. Now the Vikings finally coming up out of that, dog. You hear me? Now Quasi get to really cook. Heavy. They'll need to look for diamonds in the rough, and Lewis Cine could be the best find available if the Vikings cut him. Hey, man. And there it is, man. So you never know how it could go, dog. Like I say, if I was Lewis Cine and let's just say he's cut, and he can pick a team or a team between two teams, you telling me I'm sure he would definitely prefer to go to the Ravens instead of the Saints, dog. I know I would, wouldn't you? Don't nobody want to play for the Saints for real. Are the Saints a playoff team? Are they competing for a Super Bowl? And what's the ultimate goal? Like, what's the dream for most players, dog? You know, thriving to get to the NFL. You hear me? Super Bowl, rocking that ring, being legendary. Yeah, at least for most of them. I'm sure Lewis Cine wants the same thing. So yeah, so he could be in a good position, dog. You go to the Ravens, even if he's a backup, dog. You want a winning team, homie. You competing for a bowl, homie. What more could you ask for? But it's still a lot of questions about Lewis Cine, man. Is he a bust? You know, have we seen everything from him? We'll see though, dog. Let me know how you feel about it. You agree or disagree? Fire them comments up, man. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell. Make sure you hit that bell. Big SKOL here. SKOL Vikes forever, man. Shout out all my big dogs. Heavy. Yeah.